The fabulous PJ Audenzia! Thank you. My name is PJ Audenzia. I angered a witch and now I'm stuck like this. Let's get poppin'. I have a lot of daddy issues and not a lot of time to slay them in. As many of you already know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is an iconic, genre-bending, medium-redefining television show about a 20-something-year-old high schooler who does Taekwondo to protect the world from stuntmen in prosthetic eyebrows. Hailed in its time as a groundbreaking piece of feminist pop culture, Buffy the Vampire Slayer set out to prove that women are just as capable, if not more so than men, at acting out Joss Whedon's fetishes. You go, girl. We love to see a scantily clad, barefoot, bondaged, and mind-controlled girl boss winning. Say what you will about Quentin Tarantino, at least you never saw him accepting awards from the Podiatry Institute of America as being an activist who only has intellectual respect for women's feet. Next slide. That's right, as much as anything, I am here to talk about the creator of this show. Academy Award-winning screenwriter and passive-aggressive high school theater teacher, Joss Whedon. Whedon's impact and influence on contemporary pop culture is genuinely difficult to overstate, okay? He is the co-screenwriter of Toy Story. He is one of the foundational architects of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Next slide. And he was the basis of design for the Fun Thumbs and Spy Kids. His work on the second season of Buffy is honestly, it's a lot of things all at once. On the one hand, next slide, it is a growing up moment for the characters, the show, and even serialized television itself. It takes the characters and the drama and stakes thrown at them, as well as the courage and compassion that they'll have to wield to get through it all, and it dials them all the way up. Buffy's first love loses his soul and turns evil, murders one of her allies, threatens everyone she loves, until she eventually has to rise up, rely on herself, and plunge a sword into his chest. It is an emotional, exciting, funny, human adventure through a fully realized original fantasy universe that blends comic book gravitas and plucky sitcom banter into a revolutionary pop culture touchstone that we still begrudgingly love to this day. It is also a cringe, dated, cheap-looking, PG-13 reimagining of Are You Afraid of the Dark? As envisioned by a racist, sexist abuser, forecasting his worst tendencies as a writer and human being through dog whistles to the audience like a Batman villain taunting the Gotham police. Next slide. Yep. Through the character of Xander Don't Leave a Drink Around Me Harris, Joss jacking off feministly Whedon imagines what his high school experience might have been like if girls wanted to talk to him. The fantasy elements of the show aren't just limited to witches and demons. It's also Josh's fantasy of what it would have been like if self-possessed, smart, hot girls actively wanted the company of a resentful hetero twink who will sexually harass them in a game show voice as they walk and talk through the streets of Sunnydale, the one city in Southern California where there are, that's right, no brown people. Buffy, Willow, and Cordelia can agree. It's just not a fucking girls' night unless Xander the angry cuck is lying on a bed with you, saying some Whedon-esque proto-Bazinga shit like, "Ooh, me do epic fucky on the Millennium Falcon. That's from Star Wars!" Next slide. This season balances a long-form narrative with more super fun Monster of the Week episodes than there are to really cover. But the best of the best speed round includes future co-screenwriter of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Michael Bacall, conspiring to create Incel Frankenstein. Inca Mummy Girl, which we're not going there because we don't have time. We also have Frat Boy Reptile, Robo Ritter, Ivan Ooze, and Jeffrey Epstein. Next slide. This season also introduces a couple characters who will loom large in the Buffy mythology. Spike is introduced in season 2. Spike is purportedly the vampire sired by Angel, a plot detail so gay they retcon it. Spike is the exact kind of character that Whedon always has the most fun writing. You know what I mean? He's a sassy villain, he's got a fancy voice, and he loves insulting women. There's Oz the Werewolf, a character so cool and unproblematic that Joss had to get rid of him to make room for bisexual erasure. And Kendra, legitimately, yes! Someone's gotta give Kendra her due. Look, Kendra is a legitimately cool character played by Bianca Lawson, who is, of course, underutilized and disposed of almost instantly because Joss had already checked his "a non-white person spoke this season" box. Despite Joss's constant, conspicuous discomfort and disinterest in writing black characters, unless they are fantasy creatures or live in a post-racial future, Kendra's cool as hell and proves that black women do not have to pick whether they are speaking in an Irish or Jamaican accent. Next slide. There is also the angel of it all. Buffy's forbidden one true love, the 241-year-old vampire with a soul, played by David Boreanaz's big meaty pot roast of a face, was placed under a curse by a racist cartoon of a Roma person a century ago, with the condition that he will lose his soul if he ever experiences true happiness. But because J-Dubs is holding the pen, true existential happiness in this world means, that's right, busting a nut in a high schooler. You betcha. Yes, sirree, Bob. The Byronic 30-something undead boy band guy coughs a fat, dusty fucking cream pie into a minor so hard that it obliterates his conscience. And you know what? On the one hand, you have a potent metaphor for shitty dudes who start acting different after they've slept with you. And on the other hand, what the fucking fuck? Yes! You can tell that this scene was close to home for Joshua, who had his own experience with forbidden passion in the form of his own dark Roma curse, being married. J-Dubs has been quoted as saying that the scene where Angel gone bad emotionally abuses Buffy the morning after their spirit imploding fuck was the moment he became a real writer, because he didn't know that he could say something so mean. Allow me to remind you, this is the guy who totaled his career by bullying the Justice League into reciting dialogue that sounded like it was out of a lower-tier Scrubs episode. My dude, you became a real writer a season and a half into your own TV show by role-playing as an abuser? Jesus Christ. How self-regarding and ominous can you be? Next slide. That's like Michael Jackson saying that he became a real entertainer when he played Scarecrow in The Wiz, because that's how he learned that he loved entertaining children and looking flammable. Next slide. It's cathartic for me to do roast shit on Joss Whedon. Kill him. But it's fundamentally kind of hypocritical and two-faced and dishonest of me. We love a Gemini moment, because as much as I cringe to admit it, Joss Whedon is the person who made me want to be a writer one day. And I know I'm not alone in that. He made me pay attention to television and film as things that were written by somebody. He made me pay attention to genre, tone, and dialogue as arts in and of themselves. And before the facade of his feminism had gotten all jacked up by the truth, There was a time when I was very young and needed to hear it. This show knew that no matter what body you were born in, that you and the brave, funny, brilliant women in your life could be on each other's team in a way that meant something, and that courage, friendship, love, and powerful girls could vanquish evil and endure living in this world. I wanted the whole thing to be funny. I wanted a comedy set. I didn't. Oh, you didn't want it to get all earnest? Okay, well, I wanted to be, whatever, born with a pussy. Not everyone gets what they want. Joss said something actually, kind of smart once. Someone asked him a question about fan fiction, and his answer was that all worthy work is open to interpretations that the artist did not intend. Art, he said, is not your pet, it's your kid. It grows up and it talks back to you. Or in tonight's case, vogues at you. Look, you can probably tell, I'm not a real separate the artist from the art kind of girl. But maybe people, even shitty people, can put the best of themselves into good art, even when they're flawed, or really bad people and abusive bosses, and they're just the gaslightingest guy at the Ren Fair, and they have the personality and cranial dimensions of a Funko Pop that wished to become a real boy. Look, we all know this guy is a fucking tragic weasel, but we all still care, we still give a fuck, and I'm kind of grateful that he made this work because it brought me here. So, tonight, this strong girl with a Mr. Pointy of her own this girl has to plunge a sword into his chest. No one ever said growing up would be easy. So to anyone here who's thinking about checking out the show for the very first time, taking the journey for yourself, and finding out what we're all so crazy about, yeah, too bad. Watch something else. You kind of had to be there. If you like this set, check out a film and comedy podcast called Dead Horse, where we have mental illness about the Spy Kids and Mummy movies. I'm PJ Audenzia, and this bitch is dusted.